First Five's work and its investments every day are guided by the over 5,000 voices of this community that developed our strategic plan. Those voices told us what we need to do in order for children to thrive and reach their full potential. Those voices consisted of parents and caregivers and policymakers and law enforcement officers, people from every walk of life and every social economic income level told us how we should do our work. We have never veered from that strategic plan because we know that the community voice is right and correct. Our number one priority and our biggest investment is in the well-being of our kids. Research is really clear. The more we invest in the first 5 years of life, the greater impact that we will have in a future that not only is beneficial to children, but beneficial to all of us as well. We know through the research that 90% of a human brain growth takes place in the first 5 years of life. So the earlier we invest, the greater payoff we have in the future. These years have an unprecedented opportunity for us to shape the thinking, the development, the health, and the learning in the life of a child.
The first 5 years of life set the trajectory for the rest of our lives. All the brain research tells us that human brains develop the most during the first 5 years. Preparing children to enter kindergarten isn't only about academics, it's also about their social and emotional readiness to enter kindergarten. It's a huge shift for them. And this is where they start their academic career, in kindergarten. So everything we can do before a child enters kindergarten to prepare them for their academic life, we're going to do.
I think there are pretty dire consequences if we don't ensure that we invest in children and families, particularly children and families in poverty. We can certainly try and pay for these things later on in life, right? But that's incredibly expensive. It's incredibly draining on public resources, it's draining on private resources, and there are so many needs in the community. The more we can focus on children and families early in their development, the better off we'll be in terms of our own public resources, public education, and public health. The other thing that I would recommend is we think about linking the two together, right? We have these systems of health, we have these systems of education, but rarely are the two talking to one another. So in particular in those early years, just before a child is born, and then in through those first 5 years, it's critically important that we invest early on. That way we can make sure that that individual is on the right path to start school and to start healthy.
Economists tell us that for every dollar that we invest in a child's life before they turn 6 years old, returns over $7 of community benefit back to all of us. And so what that means for First Five and for our county is that every dollar we're investing, our community is going to reap down the road as this child gets older, as they succeed through school, and as they become productive citizens.
And so early childhood education, particularly if you look at the research, it pays off in the long run. So it's really important for the business community and for the rest of our community to be focused on those aspects of early childhood education, particularly high quality early education, that pay off in the long run. We can pay for it now and invest well into a child's well-being into kindergarten and then beyond. But if you're trying to catch up in 3rd grade, if you're trying to catch up in 5th grade, and then you're trying to catch up in high school or in workforce training, that's going to cost the business community in terms of productivity. That's going to cost the public sector in terms of resources.
There's a tremendous cost to society if any child is sort of, shall we say, lost and doesn't reach their full potential. Certainly it affects the individual, him or herself, but society just doesn't get the benefit of having a truly contributing person involved in our society.
First Five alone cannot address all the early learning challenges that we have in Santa Clara County. But what we are doing is setting an example of the highest quality early education that a child can receive. And what we're trying to do is expand that example to every single childcare and preschool in the county to ensure that all children have the highest quality early education they need before they enter kindergarten.
It's so important that we're investing early on. And our organization has devoted a lot of time and resources both in advocacy and in our effort to bring an early childhood education center here to Silicon Valley.
For every investment that we make in a child's life, for every investment, there's a $7 return for every dollar that we invest. What greater return can we get for our dollar than in the thriving, healthy, productive life of a child. As they grow into adulthood, there's no greater investment.